Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. Brad and Ray are with you. We're hoping to have our guest on today. Ray reached out to her and haven't heard back today, but hopefully she'll show up here in a little bit. So no big deal.
Yeah, and it could be one of those.
She got snowed in. I heard Raleigh got like an eighth of an inch of snow, so maybe she's shoveling out this morning.
It could be. It could be. It could also be for the fact that we've sprung ahead, and maybe she's on delay still. I mean, that's entirely. I hate daylight savings time. If we could always just continually fall back and get that extra hour sleep, fantastic. The problem is that's just not the case. You gotta spring forward if you're gonna fall back. And man,
I completely forgot about today, actually. So
I recalled very late last night that we were gonna lose an hour of sleep, and I curse the air and all of the rest of it to deal with it. But what is to do other than to write your government and tell them this is nonsense and to change it? That's really the only thing we can do left, right?
It's silly. I always laugh because we were speaking a little bit about this earlier. People are like, oh, they do it for the farmers. It's like they don't. Like, I worked on a farm growing up some, and you get up regardless of when the sun is up. You're up before the sun is up almost every day.
Yeah.
So the sun being up has nothing to do with what we had to do.
I've got a lot of friends that are farmers, and they all say this is crap.
Yeah.
Like it's just terrible.
Just pick a time, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what happened last night. I only got to watch a few minutes of the game, but maybe the Hurricanes set their clocks ahead, or something.
I don't know.
So tell me, Ray. So like I said, I got to watch about 15 minutes, of real watching the game. I really didn't get to see anything. In the little bit I saw, it looked like a team that just, they didn't look gassed, but they just looked kind of like they were out there and they were working, but nothing seemed to be clicking, if that makes sense. It wasn't an effort thing. It just was the pieces just weren't fitting together last night.
It was, I'll give I'll try to make it a quick assessment. This was perhaps a perfect playoff road game played by Vegas. They came in and they blocked tons of shots, like tons of opportunities, shots from everywhere. This one's blocked, this one's blocked, this one's blocked. And then when the puck finally got through, and the really prime opportunities that the Canes had on a number of occasions, Quick was outstanding. And Quick's got something to prove. There's a goaltender right now who is very angry that he was traded away from Los Angeles. And of course, he got sent to Columbus, and then Columbus turned around and sent him back into the Pacific with the Knights, and everyone is kind of frothing at the mouth with the hopes that the first round would be Vegas and LA. That would be sumptuous. You know what I mean? Like, everyone would enjoy it, and to give Quick his opportunity. Marchessault, Eichel, those guys, they've got a good squad. They got a solid squad. It's the reason why they're at the top of the Pacific Division. I believe they are now. And
that is correct.
They are they just played a really solid road game. Continuous pressure on the puck carrier. They did not stay back at all on the Canes. And this was a wake-up call. Freddie Anderson, one soft goal in this one. Out of the three that he allowed, one of them was soft. The others were, he just got beat. There was careless defense. Slavin and Burns on the second goal. The guy just walked right between them and just careless with the puck, not as focused or whatever. He walks in and beat him clean with a great shot. I mean, it was, people will look at the three goals allowed and say, oh, Freddie is a wash. No, he's not. No, he's not. He allowed one soft goal. That was it. Everything else was Vegas taking advantage of the prime opportunities that they had. And that's really what it comes down to. And the Carolina, we just couldn't. And that was it. And it's one game. A reminder to look back into the schedule where, you know, we were on a 4 game winning streak before the loss. But you go back, we lose 1 and win 4, lose 2, we won 7. I mean, this is the way we kept going. And when we were losing, we were getting points in it as well, which is why we see ourselves in the position that we're in now. Of course, that means there's important games ahead, especially today, a really big one. And I don't, I want to say, I know, Brad, you have said it over and over again. The out of division, out of conference games, while you want the points, not nearly as important as the ones in our division. And of course, the Devils were able to shorten. We found, like, the Canes found a way to extend their lead a little bit, stretch it out, which was nice because it was tight, and now it's shortened up again. And there's going to be ebb and flow throughout the rest of the season. And there's a tough set, a schedule ahead of us. You know what I mean? Like, coming up, it's going to be tough. Not many off days. And you got to look at it really. You might have thought that Philadelphia was one of those lighter challenge games. You know what I mean? And it turned out it wasn't so much. Sandstrom was outstanding in net, a 1-0 win where the power play scored for us. Things looked great, but man, oh man, Philly were not rolling over by any stretch of the imagination. Right. So things are going to get tougher, a whole lot going in. Injuries are concerning. I especially noticed it in the third defensive pairing. I really noticed that Chatfield was not on the ice yesterday. And I don't know how long he's going to be gone for. I certainly hope it's not tremendously long, but the pairing of Gostisbehere and DeHaan didn't look great last night. And I don't know if that's because they both had to play, one of them had to play on their off side or not. I'm not sure, but we really missed Chatfield last night. There's no question.
Yeah. A lot of great points to break down there. A couple of, I'll try and kind of go through in a similar vein as to the way you kind of went through things. Vegas, in my estimation, is the team to beat out of the West. I mean, the Dallas Stars are right there. The Edmonton Oilers were hoping to get better and be that other team. But Vegas, when they're clicking, are phenomenal. I mean, the success they've had in such a short period of time is, you know, on one level, I know people really don't like them for that reason, right? You know, they haven't paid your dues. Nobody paid. We're fans. We don't pay dues. Like, and the players who are playing for the team, it's not like you had 23 rookies out there who have only been in the league for 4 years, right? It's, you know, no, those guys have paid their dues. It's kind of a 100% for me. So I enjoy watching them. I think Vegas is one of those teams that helps expose Carolina's weakness, and that is that high pressure defense. You know, it reminds me of the scene from Miracle where Herb Brooks is talking to the team and he says, hey, you know, the Russians are going to attack you. They know they're going to beat you, but there's a way we can win. And that's, we don't defend, we attack. It's like, that's how you play against Carolina, right? You need to attack. You need to put pressure on them. You need to make them move the puck. It works really well for us. Unfortunately, it also tends to work fairly well against us. And like you said, a perfect road game, right? We are coming up into a series of 2 weeks where this is playoff hockey for all intents and purposes. We're going to see it be very playoff-esque. So we're going to learn a lot about this team in the next 2 weeks. So that's one. I would love to see unfortunately, LA is second in the Pacific right behind Vegas, so they're not going to play each other.
Yeah.
I think at this point, I don't think there's any way, but I always like Quick. How upset do you think the Kings probably have to be for him to come back to the Pacific? Because they traded him to Columbus. I can't imagine they knew he was going to get flipped to the Kings. I can't imagine you let Quick go to your closest rival on purpose. But as quick as that happened, I mean, I feel kind of bad for Quick because, you let your, that's like, Carolina, when they traded Ronnie Francis, not the first time, but the second time, right? When they sent him to Toronto, it's like, how do you send that guy away? Like, I don't, even if he's not as good as he was, like that's your guy. Like that's the guy who's been here through it all. Like,
yeah,
I don't get it. And to end up in LA, good for him. I hope at some point they do get to face off and that he gets a little revenge game out of it, because I think that would be an interesting storyline to follow. And he seems like a good dude, so
he plays well. Stanley Cup winner twice. One of them, he was a Conn Smythe winner. Probably should have been both, if I recall correctly. I mean, he was that great. I believe it was the one when they were in eighth place in the division, and they caught lightning in a bottle and mowed through everyone to win it all. It was primarily on the back of Quick. He was just solid. And that's the type of goaltending that you expect from teams that are in the upper echelon of the league. They're going to have great goaltending. You're going to have to find a way to break through. You're going to have to find a way to finish when you get these opportunities. I mean, DeHaan had a glorious chance in front of the net. All he had to do was raise the puck on the shot. He didn't raise it. He tried to slide it in along the ice, and quick as he is, I mean, his name is who he is. He slides over, gets a pad out, knocks it away. Other ones, there was other shots, just wide open net, the shots taken, and suddenly Quick is there to make the stop. It was a perfect playoff hockey game for Vegas. They played well. They made a statement, and you alluded to it when you said that they kind of played the same game that the Hurricanes play. And when the Hurricanes get out hurricaned, it shows up the weakness, certainly. And a lot of teams are doing these jailbreak rushes where they know that the Canes defense are going to pinch to try to continue attacking. So they'll take the risk of throwing, having someone break out like they're jailbreaking, and they'll have that long lead pass for 2-on-1s and breakaways and stuff like that. Those things happen a lot. You see, the Hurricanes are giving up a lot of odd man rushes, mostly because they're pinching on the offensive side, looking to gain that advantage and maintain possession. And when they miss, it can be disastrous. You know what I mean?
Right. They're living and dying, by the sword. It's like the sword of Damocles. It's just hanging over your head, and it's who they are. But it's fun to watch, though.
Oh, no, there's no question. Yeah.
I mean, that's the good news is those old early 2000s trap games, even when you won, I would rather watch a game where the Hurricanes lose 3-0, 4-0, and see the style of play they're playing now than to watch a 1-0 win from the early to mid 2000s. I mean, because it's just slow and boring, and luckily the rules have evolved and the game has evolved, because my goodness, the good or bad news for the Hurricanes is, as tough as last night was, now you have New Jersey coming in, which might be the most important game of the season to date, because New Jersey's on a tear. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. The Hurricanes are 7-3-0 in their last 10, but New Jersey's 1-2. Mercer has a 15 or 16 point or game, point streak going on.
Wow.
And New Jersey's tied with you, although you have a game in hand. So even at the end of today, you still have the game in hand, but you really also want to be up 2 points because right now, 4 points, because right now you're up 2 with the game in hand.
Mm-hmm.
But whoever wins the Metro, to divert a little bit here or to digress, wild card picture in the East, Ray. Right now, Penguins are wild card 1.
Yeah.
Islanders are wild card 2. Then you have Florida, Washington, and Ottawa. I think Buffalo's got a real long shot. I don't think they can do it. But the Penguins are sitting pretty good. They've played 65 games, and they're in wild card 1 with 76 points. The Islanders also have 76 points, but they've played 3 more games.
Yeah.
And then Florida and Washington both have played 67 games, and they're 3 and 5 points behind, respectively. And then the main reason I say Ottawa is they've only played 65 games with 70 points. So their games in hand would tie them with the Islanders if they can make a run. And I just like the Sens better than I like Washington or Florida or Pittsburgh. But I don't think anybody's catching Pittsburgh at this point. So of the teams that are down there, I would love to see the Hurricanes play it looks like it'll probably be Pittsburgh. And I'm guessing Boston will probably draw in on, Ottawa. I'm thinking it'll be Ottawa or the Islanders. I don't think Florida and Washington have enough this year to push up. I think the Islanders, they have an itty bitty lead, but it might be enough for them to hold on. They're 6-3-1 in their last 10. Florida's 6-3-1. Washington's 4-5-1. The Sens are slightly better in their last, but what you don't want to do to come full circle is if New Jersey takes over the Metro, then you're playing the Rangers in round 1.
Yep.
And the Rangers are, they're going to be a good team. They're still getting some of their new guys worked in and things, didn't jump out with Kane and all initially. But if you're saying, hey, would you rather play like the Sens or the Pens or the Isles or the Rangers? Oh, I definitely would rather play the Sens or the Pens or the Islanders.
No question.
So,
I mean, the Rangers, when you look at their top 4 lines, I mean, it's an all-star lineup. It's an all-star lineup of offensive prowess. And so that should be reason to make anyone nervous. Couple that with Shesterkin, who is not who he was last year, but still Shesterkin. Let's not forget that, right? So it's not, it's going to be a tough slog down the stretch here. And who do you want in? I was really hoping, and this might make me a villain for some Hurricane fans. I was really hoping that Buffalo might be able to make it in. But you cannot you're never going to make the playoffs if you're allowing 10 goals a night. No matter how good you are on some games, they gave up a 10 spot to Dallas. Now, Dallas is great, but to be a Buffalo fan right now has got to be difficult because there are nights when they are world beaters. And then there's nights where they're looking in the stands for goaltenders or anyone who might be, you know what I mean? Like anyone who could stop the puck, or you know what I mean? Like they just give up so many goals and so many lopsided losses that they have.
Definitely feel like just a streaky team. You just
you
don't know what to expect when they come out of out onto the ice. Because I think they're 4-5-1 or so in the last 10, and that's the only reason I don't put them in contention for that final wild card spot, because they're only a point behind the Sens and they have 3 games in hand on the Isles. But they're so streaky at this point. I don't see them. I think they're at like a 538 win percentage team or something. I just don't see them doing better than that to recoup those spots. To move up.
If you want success in the league, you have to be consistent. Like the streakiness and the huge ceiling. Like they can really put the puck in the net. They have a lot of talent. It looks really great. Okay, so we give Buffalo full credit, and certainly Kevin Adams, who is building something good. You know what I mean? Like he's really doing a good job there. But they are just so inconsistent that you can't really give them, it's that inconsistency that's going to keep them out. It's a marathon all season long. You want to be consistent. You cannot, in order to get out. That's why the Hurricanes are doing so great, right? Is consistent night after night after night. And yes, they'll have some stinkers. And I don't want to call last night a stinker necessarily, because that takes away the credit that Vegas had earned. But my goodness, the effort that Buffalo would need, they need to just find it. And not too long ago, speaking of Buffalo, not too long ago, there was a Detroit Red Wings team who was streaking, who was pushing to get themselves in, and they've fallen off a cliff as well. So we're trying to work this out. Florida, they said they built their team for the playoffs, but they got to make it in first. And they have been just a huge disappointment, not unlike Calgary, their trade partner in all of this.
Who also looks like they're going to miss the playoffs.
And Calgary, what a mess here. I mean, they consistently outshoot by a great many shots their opponents, and they end up on the wrong side of 1-goal losses. It's bewildering, to say the very least. And they've got all the talent that they need. This should be a playoff team, and I don't know that there's enough. I don't know that there's enough, racetrack left for them.
Yeah,
to get in.
To look at the West wild card real quick, you have Edmonton, Winnipeg, Nashville, and Calgary, right? So Edmonton at 80 points, Winnipeg's at 77. You have Nashville and Calgary tied at 71 points, but Nashville's got 3 games in hand, and Calgary has no games in hand over, wild card 2 Winnipeg. And they're trending the wrong way. They're 3-5-2 in their last 10. I mean, that's Florida and Calgary feel like examples of when people say, I don't want Don Wandell to gut the team, to bring somebody in last minute at the trade deadline. And now, obviously, that's not when Calgary and Florida made their trade, but that's the reason why.
Yeah.
Because would those teams be better had they not made that trade? And did Florida replace their coach? Yeah, they did. They changed to Paul Maurice, who did know, said it many times, love Paul Maurice as a person. Who didn't see that coming? I don't understand what Florida's motivations were for swapping out their head coach. I kind of get the reason for the trade, but I think they gave up too much, because they gave up a key part of what made them successful. And as did Calgary, right? And now both teams are going to be on the outside looking at it. I don't see either of them making the playoff.
It's crazy. When the interim head coach from last year, and I can't remember his name, had taken over for Quenneville, he did a masterful job of getting him there. You know what I mean? In a difficult situation, came in, kept things calm, and he got them working the way they needed to, and they played great. Florida played great hockey last year. And then when they dumped him, I thought, of anyone who is given an interim job, that should have that interim part dropped off the job title. It should have been him from last year, but it didn't work out. And they went with Paul Maurice, and my goodness.
Right. And I should definitely say Quenneville being gone is a good thing.
No question.
It was Gallant, right? Who was the interim
yes
guy? Yes. And that's just to put a fine point on it. Joel Quenneville should never be involved in hockey again.
Yeah.
But I thought Gerard did a fantastic job.
A fantastic job.
I don't understand the rationale.
Yeah.
Money, maybe. I mean, they were
hard to say.
Florida came up against a Tampa team who's always going to be tough in the playoffs. And I don't, with the direction the NHL is going, where teams like the Hurricanes that are all pressure all the time, up-tempo teams, that's the trend, right? That's the meta, as we would say in things like League of Legends. Like that's the way things are going. So to bring in to let go of Gallant and bring in Paul Maurice, who's known as a defensive-minded, slow it down coach, I don't get it. You know, I thought he was doing okay in Winnipeg. I mean, the results weren't quite there, but you know, I
but
thought
he walked away.
Okay.
He was doing okay, but he walked away from there too. He was the one that pulled the plug kind of on himself to say, right. He had guessed that he had lost the locker room.
Right.
And thought a different voice would be. And so what he believed he was doing the right thing, not only for himself, but for the team. If they're going to,
the kind of guy he is. And that's why I adore Paul Maurice.
And what I think perhaps that after the trade, I think maybe the organization in Florida hired the coach to fit the players that they had. You know what I mean? Like once they made the trade and sent out Huberdeau and set out Uyghur and stuff like that, and they looked at their lineup and said, who would be the best kind of coach for these kind of players? And that's maybe the way they went. I wouldn't have done it that way, but
yeah, I guess
that's how it looked.
I get that, in some ways. Well, I don't. I get the opposite. Bring in the guy you want to coach the team. This is the guy. This is the style of hockey we want to play. This is what we think is going to give us wins.
Yeah.
And then the GM's job is to fit the players to the coach.
Yeah, it should be the other way.
Example of that. You're not going to come into Carolina and be a one-way forward. It's one of the reasons why I didn't think Patrick Kane would actually end up here, because his defense is abysmal. Like this is not his game.
Yeah.
Like somebody like Yessi is going to be a two-way forward. He's not going to be, Aho gets the knocks, right? He's not a superstar. But he's not a superstar if you're even the NHL pundits who only look at a score sheet and go, oh, Aho doesn't have 50 goals. Like, so what? Like, Aho plays better defense than 99% of the forwards in the league, and it shows. And the reason the team is successful is because he doesn't just go for points. He does all those things. It's the same reason why I've been saying for 3 or 4 years, Edmonton will not win a cup with Draisaitl and McDavid. I'm sorry. They're not going to. They're going to, and what's going to happen is they're going to tie up all that money into those two guys, Ray, and they're still going to lose. Sorry.
Yeah, it's got to be more. It's got to be a full team effort, and it's a team build that has asset throughout. You can't have an ultra high first line and a team that's AHLers.
It's not
and
basketball.
It's not. You're right.
You can't bring in, as much as I don't really like him, you can't bring in LeBron James and 4 scrubs and win a championship, which you can do in the NBA. It doesn't work in hockey. And McDavid, in my mind, I love McDavid on the fantasy level. Like, he does great for my fantasy team. He was the, I had the number 1 pick in our draft. I took
good
McDavid.
for you.
I don't like him as a person, but for fantasy hockey, he's fantastic.
He's going to fill in that for you.
Choice if I was an actual NHL GM, he would not. Draisaitl would be. I would choose Draisaitl over McDavid if I had to choose between the two guys. But if you're saying, Brad, you get the number 1 pick overall in the league, McDavid's not my guy, as good as he is. And I know that sounds like, Brad, like there's no way you're.
See, the problem that, like, for me, I would take him, but I then have the unenviable position of trying to build a team based on the salary around it, because he will command. Imagine how much money when he has finally done this contract. Imagine how much money he will be commanding, and who's going to be able to put that money out there for him? A lot of people are wondering, is he going to be an Oiler for life? And a lot of Oiler fans says, we want him to be. We had Gretzky and we lost him in the middle of it. and that sucks. We wanted Gretzky forever. They want McDavid forever, and understandable. He's unbelievably talented. The problem is how do you, based on the salary and the money that he would command, this is not like the 80s. How many players are you going to be able to put around him to succeed?
100%. And that's why I wouldn't pick him. It's not a skill thing. It's okay, Pasternak just got what, 11.8 million a year?
Yeah,
and even with the cap going up, okay, so that makes David 13 million a year.
He's not and the thing with Pasternak, he's kind of, they're setting the market early, and it's going to be the salary cap is going up, but not tremendous. But not this year anyway.
My question is to counter that is it because TV revenues, if like Warner Brothers is already, they're going to be their franchises, the regional, I call the revenue is directly tied to the TV deal. Like that's the big part of most sports. So if the regional sports network collapses and Bally's already started missing payments, I haven't had a clear answer about how that affects the cap, because I feel like the cap is tied in part to those TV revenues. And if the TV revenue dries up because the regional sports networks all go away, then the cap's it maybe goes up, but it doesn't go up as much as it could. If that makes sense. And I don't have an answer. I'm certainly speculating, but I'm almost positive that a great majority of the league's revenue is derived from the TV contracts. So unless somebody fills that void and makes those payments, then is the cap going up, and how much is the cap going up? I mean, can you imagine if the cap doesn't go up and they just signed Pasa at almost 12 million?
And they're going to have to gut. They'd have to gut the lineup.
You have no choice. So I don't know. It's just food for thought. I've reached out to a couple of folks that I think might know, and I'm waiting to hear back, because I'd love to know how, if Bally Sports were to go bankrupt and the TV revenue dries up, even if it's just for a year or two, and they figure something out for later.
Yeah.
Does that prevent the cap from going up? And if it does, there are teams that are over the cap for next year already. I mean,
looking at you, Tampa. Like Tampa is going to be in real trouble for the amount of money that they have spent on their big players and so forth. Everyone had said that when they signed those huge contracts for the players in Tampa, that they were doing it with the thought and the forecast ahead that the cap would go up enough that they'd be able to get under. So they backload a lot of their contracts, because for the time when the salary cap was going to be big enough to handle it all. And then if it doesn't go up, Tampa's in big trouble. Big trouble. Yeah, they would have to unload. And so not looking forward to the lack of surety in the future as far as money and what can be spent and what can't. So very, very difficult. Brad, we haven't done this for a very long time.
Real quick, Ray.
Sure.
And I know where you're going.
Yeah.
Speaking of Tampa and the salary cap and circumvention thereof, the Bruins have said, "Hey, look, Taylor Hall might be back right in time for the playoffs." Who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thunk it?
Might accidentally just happen to be available right at playoff time. Who would have thought? You know what gave me hope this morning, though?
What's that?
The Florida Panthers last year had 340 goals or 342 goals, I think I read.
Yeah.
Most ever in modern NHL history for a team.
Crazy.
Season. And they got tossed in round one. And the Bruins are the first team to, quickest team to 100 points, quickest team to 50 wins. And I really want them to follow Florida's example. I really, really want them to follow.
Would be nice, wouldn't it?
I would love to see them play in, I'd love to see it be like, Bruins Pittsburgh or Bruins Islanders or something, and just have the Islanders have their way with them.
That would be nice. I don't see the Islanders doing it myself, being around.
I don't either.
Just to go back, I just don't see it. It'd be nice. There's no question. So it's time to get a forecast of sorts. We haven't done this. We haven't done this in forever. I've always loved this segment. We're going to determine who are the hurricanes, the storms, and the tropical depressions on the squad. Who or what? And which way do you want to go? Do you want to go from depression to hurricane, or the other way back? Depression to hurricane.
Yeah, let's start bad and get.
All right, I'll let you kick things off. Who or what is your tropical depression?
It's gotten better, but I got to give. I hate to call this person depression because they do so many things well. But looking at the playoffs, and this is focusing on what we need to do to get through the playoffs. Andrei Svechnikov. It sounds kind of weird to say that he's a depression because he's still doing everything well, right? Well, he's doing many things well. He's still 0.86 points per game. He's got 55 points. He's still a +6. He's still getting assists. He got a couple of goals finally for the year.
Yes,
but he's still reaching, and he's not really a depression. The team overall is playing so well. For me, it's hard to find a true person who I'm just unhappy with. But if the Hurricanes are going to be successful in the playoffs, if they're going to be successful for the next 10 days, Andrei Svechnikov needs to find the back of the net. Aho, Natchez, and Svech need to be the guys driving that team. They can't be the only ones. Obviously, Brent Burns has been on a tear with 51 points. KK had a 5-point game and then put in that OT winner over Montreal. Seth Jarvis is still having a good year. Tara Vinen has shown, little peaks of getting back to what he's been. And Svech is doing all the other things right. So, like I said, I know that I'm being kind of unfair about this, but he's got to find the back of the net.
I couldn't have said it better. Last season in the playoffs, Svechnikov, for lack of better terms, other than that huge hit that he delivered in the Boston series, disappeared in that we need goals from him. Like that's what we need, a finisher here. So my depression, and I don't really have a lot of there's a lot of storms on this team, not many depressions. My depression is still my depression is still Don Waddell. The fact that Don did not address the problem that we had he temporarily addressed it when he made the fantastic deal to get Patches in. But the second that Patches went down again, he needed to refill that spot. And if that meant giving up a little more than you would desire to get the position filled, so be it. I do not mind trading possible future benefit for talent that will help now. That fills the gap. He had a problem with not having a pure finisher on this team going into this season, and at the trade deadline, we still have that problem. Yes, we got depth, but no, we did not. So that, to me, is why Don Waddell is a depression. And you know what? That's gonna tick a lot of people off. A lot of people listening to this are going to be upset. Raymond, we still have a great team. You're going to have a great team for years going on. He didn't, make a trade just because of a trade. Let me reinstate this for a second. Getting a finisher, whatever the cost would have been, was not making a trade just to make a trade. It was making a trade to fix a problem that we were shown in all of its glory last night. We needed finishers and didn't have them. And that frightens me. That frightens me.
And there's two sides of that coin. So there's two general camps. One is go all in, win a cup, and then hopefully you won't be too bad for the years after and you'll rebuild. And the other one is I just want the team to be competitive and make the playoffs every year. And if they don't win a cup, so be it. And to the second group, I'm kind of in the middle. Like you shouldn't mortgage the future, but you should go all in. And if you have to spend a year or two to rebuild, to retool, not rebuild, but retool, that's fine. I don't want to be the Maple Leafs.
Neither do I. That was my. That was
be the team who spends every single year getting to the playoffs and then just getting with high expectations and then just gets bounced every year. I don't want to be the Maple Leafs.
I would
rather
more.
burn out. I'd rather be a star. I'd rather burn out than fade away. Right?
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you, Brad. That look, I love the 6-7 months that we have where we're enjoying fantastic regular season hockey, and we celebrate and we have tons of joy watching these great players do great things, picking up the wins. You go to the rink, you watch them win games. They beat the crap out of the team that shall not be named. I mean, it's glorious, right? You love that. But but the whole reason why they're playing in the league is for one purpose, and that's win the Stanley Cup. And if you're not doing everything that you can to do so, what are you in the league for? What are you doing?
100%. Oh, as a matter of fact, Ray, our guest is here. I'm going to blame the time change because if it wasn't for my phone and computer updating automatically, I would certainly be. So
again,
another just not very entertaining. Dude. I mean,
no. This is all.
It could be us, but
yeah,
but
no,
what a
we
good
blame
time
it
because
all.
we just started playing our game. So, would you like to do the introduction, Ray? Or
I certainly could. Joining us right now, she just entered, and she's done something really, really special. I've seen her work. It's absolutely amazing. I'm kind of jealous because you've gotten in on it, but we'll let her. Emma is joining us here in the Storm Cellar. Emma, thank you very much for coming by, joining us here in the Storm Cellar. Take a seat, and we are going to. And Brad is desperately trying to show the pic, and it's blurring out.
Very happy of my photo.
Yeah, no question. So Emma, thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Doing pretty good. I had SAT yesterday, which was really scary, but I'm gonna get back into art now because finished with that. Yeah, my painting's been slowing down recently just because of that, but
well, yeah, understood. But you know what? Your painting is just unbelievable. And Emma, just coming in now, we were in the middle of our, the Storm Cellar Forecast where we're breaking down the team and so forth. You're free to join in as we move on to the tropical storm. Who or what is a tropical storm? Playing like they're doing well, but they're not quite at the upper echelon, and they're not tanking either. That's where we're looking. Someone who's just right around there. I'm gonna get this one started here as far as the tropical storm goes. For me, the tropical storm has become, oddly enough, the special teams. Special teams right now is ramping up a little bit. We've seen with Gostisbehere added as an addition, we've seen a real spike in the power play performance and success. It's great. In fact, it was the only reason why we won against Philly, the power play goal by Svechnikov. So, yeah, it's coming around, and special teams is going to have to get, though, to that hurricane status before the playoffs start, because we all know it's goaltending, it is special teams, and it's secondary scoring that brings you cup success. And the special teams picking up The penalty kill is doing great. It tends to do really great, and we're going to keep that up, right? So that's usually the way it works out for us. But now we need that extra man to really to finish the job. Brad, what do you think? Who or what is your tropical storm?
So I almost reversed these. So what I originally thought as my storm became my depression. I said Andrei Svechnikov, and I did that not so much because of Andre, but because the power play and special teams actually has gotten a little better. So yeah. I said, instead of poo-pooing on the power play, the power play is up to 21.7%. So top half of the league, barely.
Yeah.
But, the difference between being 15th and being in the top 10 in the league is only like 1.5%. A little less than that, actually. And the difference between that and being top 3 in the league is only like 3.5%. So, Ghost Bears here now. Power play has had a little more in it. They're scoring a few more goals. Penalty kill is still sitting about 83%, 83.5% or so. 89% for the net PP, which includes any shorties that we've scored, which is fine, right? We'd love to see that get a little better, but at least the power play is in the top half of the league again. That's a big deal. Number 2 penalty kill in the league. It's kind of hard to fault them there. So for me, it's the power play. It's showing signs of life. In my former life at EMS, this is like a patient who's been in VTAC and their heart's pumping, but it's not really doing anything. And we're getting to a point where we can slow it down and get a rhythm going. And now it's actually going to start doing work again. And I think they're on the cusp of having that happen. And that's going to be a necessity for the playoffs. So
it absolutely will.
Power play gets my vote.
And for you, Emma, what do you think? What fits the bill as far as the tropical storm? Not quite the best, but not terrible either with the squad.
Well, I think it might be a bit controversial, but I think our
that's okay.
Goaltending, it might. Now, it's not completely our fault. Like, I think our goaltending's pretty solid. Like, sometimes, we have our drop-offs and stuff. But with injuries, there's been a lot of injuries. And I think Kochetkov, we've kind of sent him down to the AHL. But there's been so many switches that your goaltenders don't get to play and they don't get to practice. So, like, let's say we play Anderson for 3 games or so. Then when Ranta comes in, he's not going to do as well as he could have because he hasn't played in so long. I think solving that somehow and having them not be injured, I think, is another aspect tied in, because Ranta, who was playing great, the opportunities that he had was on a humongous point streak, gets injured in the game against the team that shall not be named. And another reason for me to hate them. And it just it's frustrating, right? But Kochetkov, PK himself, Pyotr the Great, he was sensational in the shutout victory. He's got 4. He's tied for the top in franchise with Peter Sidorkiewicz, who was a Whaler way back when. I have his autograph. He's in elite company in the franchise. So Pyotr the Great, every bit of reason. That's a great pick. Not controversial at all, Emma. Not controversial at all.
You know what I would throw on top of that too is with the injury bug that they've had and having to bring up Kochetkov for a while. Anderson was out a long time. Ranta's had a couple instances where he's had to be out. Those are all things that take away from that rhythm, because the Hurricanes for a long time have been one of the few teams that didn't have a true number 1 who played 60 games and then the other guy, right? They've kind of done this goalie by tandem thing for a while. But look at some of the games. You're Anderson and I forgot what game it was, but it was like a week or so ago, and he took 10 shots on goal the whole game?
That was not against Tampa.
Again, yeah. 4 shots in the first period,
none in the second
period. Does that qualify as a game? How do you benefit? How does that benefit Anderson in any way? It doesn't, because he's just out there I don't know what to do. Oh, hey, I'm on the scoreboard, and I wonder who's going to win the Mighty Mites game. But you know what I mean? That's not work. That's not even as good as practice.
It's hard to keep you in the game when you don't face a shot. Like, I mean, those are actually, you ask any goaltender, and this is what makes goaltenders a little weirder, putting themselves in front of 100-mile-an-hour slap shots and stuff like that, and contorting and diving and all of the rest of it. They want more. Just give them more. They would much rather face 30 shots a game than they would 15 for the same, for that exact reason, Brad. That exact reason.
Can you imagine me, you, or Emma? Any of us could have thrown pads on against the, Tampa Bay Lightning in period 2, and we would have done just as well as Freddie Anderson.
Frightening, isn't it?
Isn't that scary?
I mean, that
scary.
Could show it, right? Like, our defense is a large reason, I think, of what makes our goaltenders so good, because you see, like, what is it? Like, Reimer and these other goalies are leaving, and they're becoming a little worse, which, I don't know, I think we make our goaltenders a lot better just because of our defense.
There is no question 100%. About that. Yeah, 100% on that, Emma.
You and Don Waddell understood that before maybe the rest of us. I know I was upset when Ned left, and then you saw Ned and you're like, okay, I knew that our defense was good, but are they that good? No, apparently they are.
Apparently they are. Let's so we've got the tropical storms. Time to point to our hurricanes, the aspects of the game that are doing the best, most enjoyable, that we really, really love. Brad, I'm gonna put you on the spot here this time. Who or what is your hurricane?
So I went back and forth about this because part of me wanted to say Marty Necas. And just to give Marty his due, phenomenal year for him so far. Yeah, even with the lulls. I mean, Marty finally hit 60 points, right? So he's a 60-point, 25 goal, 35 assist guy. But I'm going to give it to Brent Burns, because Brent Burns is, I'd like to say he's as old as me, but then I forget he's like 10 years younger than me. Brent Burns has put up 55 points on a new team in a defensive system that values and makes it mandatory that you play a very particular type of style, which luckily fits Burns, right? Those early on gaffes and things were like, why is he going behind the net? He needs to trust his partner. He's starting to do that. It's showing, right? Big 4-assist night for him the other week. The guy's been absolutely on fire. And at 37, he does it like he's slowing down. I mean, he's got 23 goals. He has our third leading. I'm sorry. He has 12 goals. He's our fourth leading scorer. He's got 39 assists for 51 points. It's phenomenal for a guy of his age in a new system. And it's a tough defensive system to learn. So
yes,
Brent Burns is everything you want in a guy, because you can tell he's out there. He's asking questions. He's still trying to improve and get better. He's going to bring the younger guys along. Hopefully with Gostisbehere, he can, help him kind of find that same groove, get those power plays going, because we're going to need that desperately. But Brent Burns has just been phenomenal. And I want to know what's in his backpack. I think that's everybody's question.
Oh, man.
Burns,
it goes everywhere with him, doesn't it?
Burns just, it's like we traded for Burns. The next day, Burns is posting pictures of him at his RV in North Carolina, wearing camo, cooking out over a fire. And I'm like, yeah, that guy's going to fit in really well around here. He's going to be
no question. And no question.
Above and beyond, if we do re-sign Max Pacioretty for next year, if we get anything close to the kind of effort out of Max that we got out of Burns this year, or what we saw in those couple of games out of Max, like those two would just be robbery kind of deals. I mean, Burns for nothing, Patches for nothing. Even with the 3 games we got of Patches, like it's still more than we gave up for him. So
yeah,
but I got to go with Burnsy.
There you go. That's a great one. For me, see, I wrote an article about my hatred of certain teams, and really only one team.
I was going to say there's no S in that article anywhere.
There is no S, and it's a Schadenfreude situation. And what brought me the most joy and made me feel the greatest wasn't the 5-point night. that Jesperi Kotkaniemi put up. It was the beautiful shootout in Montreal goal that won the game.
Choked saying that. That was awesome.
I know, it's just one of those things. I'm sorry, it's a habit. KK, he's my Hurricane right now. We had been waiting a long time for him to reach his potential. He has not completely reached his potential, but he is playing fantastic hockey right now. He is working very, very hard. He's getting great opportunities. He's capitalized on points. That 5-point game against Tampa, he was just everywhere on the ice. It was beautiful. Goal and 4 helpers. How many times does in a shutout the goaltender not get the first star when KK puts up 5 points? He was great. And he's a great, he doesn't have to get on the scoreboard to make a difference for that second line, for the 80s line. You know what I mean? He is making things work on that line, and I'm loving the effort. I'm loving the effort. I want to see more of it. So
4 points away from a career year, which I don't see him not surpassing his rookie year.
No, there's plenty of runway left for him to exceed that and perhaps even make a statement in the playoffs as well. He wanted the opportunity, he's got it, and now he's proving that he can do it. So great work from KK. He is my Hurricane. It's the first time that we've ever put him in that position as well on the show. So
I should track that, but I shouldn't say I'm not surprised, but yeah, I'm not surprised he hasn't been there yet, because
he's been a Storm.
We've been waiting for it. We've been waiting for it, but now it's I agree. I think he's starting to show that he can be a legit 3C guy for sure when Stahl goes out, and that his ceiling really is 2C.
100%. Emma, what do you think? What's the best part of the Hurricanes right now? Which player? What aspect? Best part?
I don't know how far back or how long I can make this time span, but I think Burns is a really good one, because he has integrated himself into the team really well, and he's filled like where we lost Tony DeAngelo and stuff. He's really filled that hole like better, I think. In the past month or so though, I'd probably say Tavo, just because I feel like he was injured, and then kind of a big part of his game is that he tries to pass it, and I feel like he doesn't try to score as much when he's down near the net, and I feel like he's been scoring a lot more recently, right? He got a hat trick recently, and I don't know, I think they changed up his lines or something, and I feel like he's playing better. So
and you know what, Emma, you hit the nail on the head. KK wouldn't have had his opportunity to win the shootout if Tavo didn't score the filthiest frigging goal I have ever seen on a shootout. It was glorious. It was filthy, the silky mitts. He was the one that got us to the spot, and his reaction after the goal, typical Tavo, because there was no reaction. It was like he didn't score. He's an odd duck, and coming from me, that says a lot if I'm calling him an odd duck. But hey, just keep putting the puck in the net. Emma, that's a fantastic pick. That's a fantastic pick. Yeah, you're on top of it. Now, look, Emma, we've got you in here, and normally in the program, we start out putting the spotlight right on you right off the start, because you're the most important aspect of this. And it's okay that you're coming in late. Brad and I are flexible. It doesn't look like it when you see us in person that we'd be terribly flexible, but we are 100% flexible. Now we want to find out about you, Emma. Tell us everything about you, your Caniac fandom, and then we want to shine the spotlight on the great work with your art that you're doing. because man, oh man, it needs to be talked about. So Emma, fire away. How did you become a Caniac?
Ooh, so I think it was 7th grade. My little sister started playing hockey. So I've never actually played hockey before. It's kind of random, the hockey. But and then my family became like pretty obsessed with it all at once. So we got like season tickets pretty early on, and just going to games I think was a big thing. And then over COVID, I got really into hockey Twitter. So like all my friends were suddenly involved in hockey, and the art I was producing was involved in hockey. So I just started following it a lot. Um, yeah, and it's definitely taken over my life at this point. Art I do is all hockey related. I'm on the Power Players board as well for the NHL at the start of this year. So it's like
Okay.
their youth advisory board. So basically we like advise them on different marketing and different things for kids. And they, they like they help us go to the All-Star game every year and the Stadium Series, which I got to write an article for. So that's yeah,
Wow.
I've been very involved in hockey this year.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic, Emma. Now,
That's amazing.
You know,
That's really
yeah, it is really cool. No question, Brad. Do you have a who's your favorite player? Who's the do you have a lot of jerseys?
Ooh.
Do you have one jersey? Do you who's your favorite player? Because there's got to be like Brad has the same number of Svechnikov jerseys as Svechnikov's number. I mean,
Oh my God.
he loves the man, and rightfully so. I'm an Aho guy myself. I love Aho. He's Aho is Ron Francis 2.0 to me, and that says a lot. Who's your guy?
This year it's got to be Kochetkov. I think I've at like the start of my hockey art, I started doing these like goalie helmets. So I've always focused in a lot on the goalies of the teams. And then this year I was able to like give him a drawing of his helmet for his birthday. So like I don't know. I like following his career a lot better.
Wow, great choice.
I think before that I didn't really have one. I have a blank Stadium Series jersey, which I'm probably gonna get someone on, and I have a Brindamore jersey, which I actually got signed by a few players.
Nice. That's outstanding, Emma. And you know what? Kochetkov is a great pick. There's something infectious about his excitement and the aura that he carries. He's got charisma. He's excited, and it's so funny because you can't really understand much of what he says. He's still got to learn English. None of us really know, but he tells you everything that you want to know about him by his behavior, by his reactions. And you had to have loved that shorthanded empty net goal that he scored.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't that exciting?
Getting
like
kicked
that?
out of the game. Same game.
He was ready to chuck knuckles and stuff, and they booted him. And yeah, what a great night that was for him.
Nancia, who was on the show recently, who's brand new to hockey and was doing the TikTok videos when we brought Nancia on, and she kind of mentioned Kochetkov too, and I think Ray hit the nail on the head. Kochetkov's passion is it's contagious, and it's not mean. Like, it's kind of funny because when we think of Kochetkov, you think of like the fact that he wanted to fight the entire Iowa team last year,
right?
And the fact that he got thrown out of 2 games this year for fighting, but he's not like, and even talking to him in the Calder Cup, like it doesn't feel like he's mean spirited in any way. He's just got a line, and if you cross it, then you've crossed it, right? But everything, like his celebration after that goal, I can see why the other team kind of took offense, right? Because he skates to the bench and he's hooting and hollering, but I don't think there was any malice in it at all. He was just like, that's a once in a lifetime thing. Like, that's just not something that happens, right? And it was just pure joy to watch. And I don't think there was any in your face kind of feeling to it at all. And they can still took it that way, which is fine. I can't fault them for that. But that's one of the things I like about him is because he is so young, he doesn't feel like he's a sarcastic, grizzled old, kind of guy. He feels like a kid, a lot like Seth Jarvis. I could see the two of them out there, like, I don't know, grabbing a slip and slide in the summer and just like scooting around and just doing silly stuff, right? I mean, I don't know, but yeah, I feel like his whole attitude comes from that that kind of positive vibe that he's just really excited to be here and playing hockey, and it's not coming from from anywhere but a good place, and that's one of the things I think that people are instantly recognize that and drawn to, even if they don't realize it.
Yeah, I mean, those are the players we want more in hockey, right? They're really passionate about it, and like the things that he does keep fans engaged, right? Like even though he's not trying to exactly, it's you want to see a player out there who has a lot of personality and who feels really passionate about the game and is doing things,
And it's controlled passion too, because when you look at it, when it's time to work, he's working. Like, you know what I mean? He's not always exuberant or whatever like that. He saves those reactions for unique times when either he is pushed too far, like Brad said, that hack that he gave to Marchand was brilliant and stuff back in the but when it's game time, he's focused. He knows he's got a job to do and he does it. The shutout was a perfect example against Philly. You saw his reaction in the end. You see him pumping his arms and he's like just delighted, fantastic, everything's great. But during the game, he was uber focused, not out of position, very, very solid, very just work ethic. His work ethic, I guess, was great. It's not the word I'm looking for, but the demeanor that he carried, it was fantastic. So that's another great pick, Emma. Yeah, for sure. Look, Emma, how about your art? Let's talk about that. You have some unbelievable talent. Brad has been very delighted to show the pictures that he's got. And you've got something special going on. I've always had kind of jealousy of great artists who have that sort of talent, because man, you capture so much of the Hurricanes with your picks. And tell us all about it.
I've always been involved in art, I guess, how I got into it. My Oma, or my grandmother, is like a big artist, so she would always just give me art supplies and stuff. And so like I said, over COVID, I got really into hockey. And with so much free time, I just started painting. And I think once I started drawing stuff with the Hurricanes and posting it and like people were liking it, I was like, this is something that I really want to do. This is something that like I want to be able to spread hockey through my art. Right? I want to like see this sport in like a different type of creative light. So it was like a 1 month into it was 2021, I think. 1 month in April, the Hurricanes wanted to buy one of my pieces and turn it into like a poster for the Hurricanes Foundation. And that like moment, I guess, has motivated my career for so long of just you can create something. Like, it was a tiny pen sketch originally, and then it took me like, I don't know, 20 minutes. I drew it at a game, and then they wanted me to blow it up, and so I blew it up and I reprinted it twice. They like gave me a huge signed copy, and then it went off and it was sold for like $600 or something, and most of that money went to the Hurricanes Foundation. Like I could see that my art was actually like actively having an impact on stuff, and that was just wild to me. Yeah, I guess that's how it started. And then because my school wasn't in person, like it was online a lot, I could spend like 10 hours a day drawing. And if you go back to my the very early stuff I did, and then like 6 months later, it improves like crazy, because almost every day I was spending like 9 hours just drawing and working on it.
Wow. Is is that the direction you want like your future to take your career? Is that kind of what you're hoping to do, as you get older and go through life, or have you not really thought about it? Or
I think unless like something else really big happens, I feel like that's not going to be my main career, but I do want to keep up art like on the side. But I feel like I'm a bit worried about like sustaining myself and stuff. So
yeah, and that's tough. I don't know if it's kind of, it feels like a New England thing to me. Make Way for Ducklings is a children's book. It's really big here in New England.
Yeah.
I had a chance. Are you familiar with the book?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Nancy Shern is the artist who cast the sculptures for the book that exist in the Boston Public Garden. I was fortunate enough as part of my graduate studies to curate an exhibit of her private work, like things she had never shown the public before, that were about her journey through art. And one of the things that stuck with me most, and I've tried to, our show is about inclusivity and trying to support, minorities and women and people within the context of hockey. And some of that stems from Nancy told me in an interview while I'm curating this exhibit. She said, because she's got to be in her late 80s, early 90s now. She said, I didn't realize art was something like I could do as a job. Like I didn't think I could make a living doing art. That wasn't a thing when I was young. And then she's one of the pioneers who's made art something that you can make a live at, particularly as a woman, because of what she's done. She was definitely like kind of a pioneer and trailblazer. And so when I see really amazing art from folks, I remember seeing your Anderson photo or your Anderson watercolor, and I was like, oh, I really want to buy that, but like, nah, I probably shouldn't. And then when I saw the Aho photo of the goal that he scored, I remember reaching out to you and being like, do you take commissions, and could you do this? And if you can do this, then I want them both, because the two of them together are going to look phenomenal. And I'm going to pat myself on the back because, man, I was right.
Well, you should.
They look amazing. And I know other people, because I remember you reached out to me and you're like, oh, like other people were asked. And I'm like, yeah, like, hey, make some money off of it, get, spread the word, whatever you want to do, like go for it. Because I think it's fantastic to see somebody who's dedicated the time and like I said, hours and hours a day and getting better. Because when I saw those two, especially when I got them in person, like they looked even better than the pictures that you sent. Absolutely phenomenal. Like I absolutely adore both of them. So that is definitely going in my hockey wall of fame, like once I finally get a chance to update our very, very old house to get that stuff up. But I'm super excited about those. Are two of the things I cherish most because they're unique, right? It's I can go online and get a signed puck that maybe Brent Burns has signed 1,000 of, but not everybody's going to have an Emma original.
Exactly. And the fact that you were commissioned by the team to be a part of something like this for the foundation, I mean, did it catch you off guard? What were you expected? I mean, I can only imagine the excitement, how that went. Let's share that a little more of that.
Oh yeah, no, I was maybe 15 at the time, and I just it was Abby Labar reached out to me because I had been on Twitter for 2 weeks, and I still hadn't opened my DMs. They were closed, and the only person I was following was Abby Labar. So she had to message me.
Oh man!
And she gave me the emails of the people. She was like, "Hey, they really liked your work." And one of my friends, his dad works in I think the lighting or something for the Canes, and he came up to me. He was like, "Hey, people, all the staff have been sharing your photo. Like my dad saw your drawing." And that was just mind blowing to me. So that was insane. I think that really kicked off my hockey stuff. And with your the two watercolor commissions, the Aho one has become really big. I'm selling a ton of prints on that because I'm on Etsy, and I've been on Etsy for a couple of years. So they've given me a Star Cellar badge and these cool badges that people see your stuff more, I haven't made many more of those prints because they take 9 hours to cut out every pixel of paper, and then you have to use it in Photoshop and if you had to take out every
Wow.
single pixel of paper of the photograph and then just have the art. But then it looks super good. So I'm really happy with how those the prints are coming out. That's easier. I think my big goal with my art, there's a lot of pressure, I feel like, in the art community to always make like a crazy big impact with your art, where your art always has to be actively doing something or saying a message, or like, you know, it has to be changing the world. I think
Right.
there's every art teacher I've had, right? Like, your art has to be changing the world, your art has to be doing something. And like, as a high schooler, that's a lot of pressure. And hockey art has just, I think, given me a new purpose in my art, where it's my own, where I can still make an impact, but it feels more personal to me. So I can, right, like you guys said, I can give people pieces that makes them feel closer to the sport, or I can portray a player in like a way that people haven't thought of him before. Or like with my goalie helmet series, I can focus in on the goalie's helmet and, like, you know, show really like that there's so much art and, like, I guess, beauty inside of hockey, and it's really hard to recognize sometimes without art. So I think that's what my kind of goal has become with my hockey art. Yeah.
And yeah, I'd love to reinforce that, because look, when you are able to capture Aho in that picture, I've seen it enough times. I don't own it myself, but I've seen it enough times. When you capture that, you are making a difference in the world, because people that see it, like myself, who love him and love that aspect, you're right, it does bring a personalized, closer feeling to the person. So you're totally making a difference, totally making a difference. And I could just see that continuing further on for you, whichever direction you go. It's gonna be great. You're gonna be bringing those emotions, the time. It's a stress, hockey sports, being a fan is a strange thing. There's strange emotion that ties to it, and you know what I mean. We always want to be, the fan always wants to be closer to the team.
Yeah.
It draws them in, and you doing these fantastic paintings is another way to help fans like Brad and I to feel closer to the team. So, and that's just epic work, and certainly deserving of praise, and
Thank you.
and great success. I can't wait to see more of your work. Honestly, it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
I think a really cool thing with that also is that I get a lot of, like, you know, like, asks for commissions and stuff, and people will just see photographs, like Brad said, right? He saw that one photograph of, was it Aho, or yeah, I think it was Aho.
Oh yeah.
And it just reminds them of my art, which is like crazy to me, that people like can see like a nice photograph of hockey, or like I've had some commissions where people have like family members close to them that play hockey or played hockey, and they wanted to feel closer to the sport, and I can make that happen. Like, if you have a photograph or an old like family member who used to play hockey, I'm able to like build another world off of what these people see, which is just so insane to me. I'm so glad like that my Twitter has given me this opportunity to be able to do that.
And now, Emma, we're going to give you a chance to promote yourself. Now's your opportunity. Lay it all out for us. How do people reach you? How can they follow you? All your work. We want to promote you in a big, big way. Yeah, everything. Lay it all out for us, because people need to see your work.
It's just Candle Canyon on Twitter and Instagram are both of my things, and then my Etsy's linked through there. Most of the Etsy stuff I get is just people find me on Etsy separately, but it's Etsy linked on my Twitter and Instagram. Both have all my prints and stuff, or you can just DMs for commissions. Yeah.
Awesome. Emma, thank you very much for joining us, for doing that great work for Brad. Brad's been holding those paintings over my head, taunting me, saying, look what I got. You don't have. Ha. And rightfully
and
so.
100% right. The moment I saw the Aho photo, my first thought was this would pair perfectly with her, Anderson that she had done. And that's when I'm like, if she'll do this, like that would be phenomenal. First thing I thought of, I'm like, oh my God, this is just like the Anderson. This is perfect. And I love being able to, your art teacher said, your art needs to change the world. And I would, as somebody who did photography, I would say, I don't disagree with them, but changing the world is best one person at a time.
Yeah. Like
every time you produce a piece of art that makes somebody happy, you've changed the world for the better. That's all that really matters, right?
And if my art has a larger impact on like the hockey community and stuff, I want to be able to get there naturally, I think, rather than trying to make it happen right now. I want to first, make the fans see hockey differently or stuff like that. And then I'll get there, I think, throughout my art career. Yeah.
Wow, Emma, so great. Thank you so much for joining us here in the Storm Cellar. It's such a delight to hear. You can hear the passion in your voice, Brad. I'm not making that up. Like I can,
not at all.
I can hear it. It's so great. I love everything about it.
The next generation hockey fans, we're leaving hockey in good hands as we get old, Ray.
100%. So Brad, look, we've talked about so much. We got Emma in here. We covered all of the difficulties. We even got to do our own the Storm Cellar Forecast, which I love. So I appreciate you allowing that. But we're missing something, and maybe this is because of the spring ahead daylight savings time. It's messing with my brain. I'm missing something here, and for the life of me,
7 p.m. Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.